Aurora and Arthur Petrova, the family's summer holiday in Dover? Yeah, right. Part 3. Kakvo stava, veche kusno. Kakvo stava, veche e kusno. Petar cries out in a daze as the bright August sunlight begins its fierce blaze. Through the window of Folkestone's grand Burston it creeps, while the rest of the family obliviously sleeps. It's 10:45 on this Tuesday morning, and Petar lets out a quite thunderous yawning. He adjusts his blue glasses, his short hair a mess, as the weight of the lateness begins to oppress. Beside him, Maria wakes up with a start, a heavy foreboding now clutching her heart. Aurora sits up with a look of pure spite, her pink glasses catching the mid-morning light. The buffet is closed. All the breakfast is gone. This holiday's rubbish, she starts to go on. Nearly 10 and loquacious, she won't hold her tongue, as the first of her insults is bitterly flung. Arthur, nearly 9, gives a terrified blink, his green glasses sliding as low as a sink. He knows when his sister is in such a mood, the atmosphere quickly turns dangerously rude. Aurora's frustration begins to ignite, an explosion of anger, a terrible sight. To exacerbate matters, she leaps from the floor and jumps on the bunk bed with a deafening roar. Snap, crack, crunch, goes the wood as she flies, a cacophonous sound under Folkestone's gray skies. The slats begin splintering, breaking in two as the mattress collapses, a structural stew. She's a whirlwind of chaos, a storm in a room, sealing the substandard furniture's doom. But breaking the beds isn't nearly enough, for Aurora is made of much deadlier stuff. With a devious smirk and a heart full of ire, she plots to set room 101 on some fire. She plugs in her straighteners, leaving them on, as the last of her patience is utterly gone. They sizzle and hum on the wood of the stand, a silent assassin she's carefully planned. It's a bittersweet vengeance, an oxymoron of hate, as she leaves the small device to determine their fate. Burzai, po burzai, Maria calls out from the hall, as she gathers their bags and prepares for the hall. Her orange-clad arms hide the scars from the past, where a kettle's hot water had once held her fast. Petar is frantic, his blue glasses askew, as he tries to determine just what they should do. They exit the room with the slam of the door, ignoring the heat creeping over the floor. The hallway is musty, a monotonous gray, as the Petrovas start their disastrous day. They pile in the Audi, a bright shade of red, a 2009 model they've started to dread. It's cramped and it's cluttered, a metal-bound cage where the heat in the cabin increases their rage. Petar takes the wheel with a sigh and a groan, as the engine emits a low, guttural moan. Arthur is squeezed by a mountain of gear, with his green glasses fogging as Dover draws near. I can't even breathe, Arthur whimpers in pain, as they drive through the narrow and coastal side lane. The drive is a slog, a monotonous crawl, as Aurora's complaints start to bother them all. She kicks at the back of her father's worn seat, while the August sun pulses with shimmering heat. Are we there yet? She asks with a sharp, biting tone, as her brother responds with a quiet, sad moan. The red Audi rattles, its gears out of sync, as the family stands on a cliff-hanging brink. They're bound for the outlet, a shopping mall maze, through the sweltering heat of the midsummer haze. At Ashford Designer, the crowds are a swarm, and the cacophonous noise is the mid-afternoon norm. Maria is searching for clothes for the school, where the Harrow Lodge Primary has a strict dressing rule. But Aurora is dreaming of Ralph Lauren threads, as the heat of the shopping mall gets to their heads. She pulls at the racks with a haughty disdain, while her mother begins to feel physical pain. The credit card beeps with a rhythmic distress, as they buy the most expensive, iconic new dress. I must have the polo. I must have the brand, Aurora demands with a wave of her hand. She stalks through the aisles like a queen on a quest, while Maria is put to the ultimate test. It's too much, sighs Maria, her orange sleeves bright, but she knows that Aurora will put up a fight. The shopping is frantic, a whirlwind of gold, as the treasures of Ashford are bought and are sold. Aurora is gloating, her pink glasses high, as she watches the pounds and the pennies fly by. Poor Arthur is ignored in the uniform aisle as he tries on a sweater with a very weak smile. The Harrow Lodge emblem is stitched on the chest, but he's far more concerned with his sister's unrest. Maria checks sizes, her long hair in braids, as the light in the shopping mall slowly now fades. "Does it fit, Arthur dear?" she asks with a sigh, as the boy looks away with a tear in his eye. The day is a burden, a heavy-set weight, as the family struggles with holiday fate. Next is Dover Castle, on top of the hill, where the air is surprisingly biting and chill. They walk past the stone and the battlements high, beneath the vast stretch of the late afternoon sky. Petar is leading, his blue glasses bright, though the history gives him no sense of delight. Arthur is fascinated, looking around, at the ancient and sturdy and time-weathered ground, but the mood is still fragile, a delicate thing, like a bird with a broken and fluttering wing. They descend to the tunnels, the hospital ward, where the history leaves young Aurora quite bored. The underground air is both damp and it's cold, as the secrets of wartime begin to unfold. "It's spooky," says Arthur, his voice like a ghost, as he sticks to the person he trusts in the most. Maria holds Arthur, her orange dress dim, in the tunnels that look so remarkably grim. Aurora just scoffs with a roll of her eyes, as she thinks of a plan for a wicked surprise. Back out on the ramparts, a telescope stands, and Aurora reaches out with her mischievous hands. She clicks on the buttons, a devious sprite, and sets the voice guidance to Spanish for spite. Petar walks over and drops in a coin, as the two different worlds now begin to subjoin. He leans to the eyepiece to look at the sea, but the voice that he hears isn't English, you see. It's a Spanish-tongued lecture of foreign-born rail, as the holiday plan starts to utterly fail. "¿Qué dice este trasto?" Petar cries in a rage, as the telescope speaks like a foreign-born sage. He shakes the machine with a frustrated glare, while Aurora's loud laughter rings out through the air. "I don't understand. Is it broken or what?" Petar yells, as his temper gets terribly hot. He looks at the ocean, his face turning red, wishing he'd stayed in his substandard bed. The joke is a triumph for Aurora's dark heart, as she pulls the poor family further apart. They drive back to Folkestone, but as they draw near, the scent in the lobby is pungent with fear. A thick, grayish smoke is now clogging the hall, as the Grand Burston's guests start to panic and bawl. Maria and Petar both freeze in their tracks, as the weight of the morning lands hard on their backs. "It's room 101, cries a voice from the crowd, as the alarms of the building ring piercingly loud. The straightener's fire has started to spread, and the family's hearts are now heavy as lead. Out steps the manager, William Will Lau, with a frown on his face and a sweat-beaded brow. From Hong Kong to Britain, he's seen it all now, but he looks at the Petrovas and makes a grim vow. "Tout dinner," he bellows, his Cantonese clear. "The damage you've done is what brings me out here." He points at the smoke and the charred, blackened frame, as he calls out the family's disgraced and dark name. "You've ruined the room. You have sparked a great fire," as his anger and volume rise higher and higher. £1,000 fine, Will Lau shouts with a glare, as the smell of burnt carpet still hangs in the air. To exacerbate things, he demands it right now, with a stern, unforgiving, and furrowed-up brow. Maria is trembling, her orange dress bright, as the fire brigade puts out the last of the light. "We don't have the money," she cries in distress, as the holiday turns to a charred, smoky mess. But Will is quite firm, he won't let it slide, as the Petrovas find there is nowhere to hide. They're moved to room 102, smaller and old, where the walls are all damp and the air is quite cold. The wallpaper's peeling, the carpet is worn, as the family sits there, exhausted and torn. Petar is silent, his head in his hands, as the fine for the fire has ruined his plans. Arthur is shivering, his green glasses dim, as the substandard room closes in around him. "It's worse than the first one," he whispers so low, as the evening begins its dark, somber glow. Then comes the dispute over what they should eat, as they sit on the floor with no chairs for a seat. "I want a korma," Arthur cries with a plea. "Indian food is the best one for me." But Aurora snaps back with a venomous bite. "It's Chinese for dinner, or we'll have a fight." She wants noodles and duck and a sweet and sour dish, and she won't let her brother have his simple wish. The hunger is sharp and the tension is high as the sun disappears from the Folkestone gray sky. "You're selfish," cries Arthur, his voice rising tall as he stands up and shadows the substandard wall. But Aurora reacts with a sudden sharp slap that sounds like a thunderous, terrifying clap. She hits her poor brother right on his young cheek, leaving him trembling and frightened and weak. He falls to the floor with a heartbroken cry as the tears start to well in his green-glassed eye. The silence that follows is heavy and deep as the ghosts of the day start to crawl and to creep. Petar stands up with a look of despair as he runs a tired hand through his short, messy hair. "Enough," he exclaims. "I will buy you both meals," though the cost of the food is a weight that he feels. He heads to the town through the damp, evening mist with a long and expensive and diverse food list. Maria just watches, her heart full of lead, as she tries to make up the substandard bed. The holiday's ruined, the money is gone, but the cycle of chaos continues to run. He returns with the bags, both Indian and Chinese, as he tries his very best to bring them some peace. They eat on the floor in a quiet, grim line, though the food doesn't make the night feel very fine. Arthur eats rice with a sad, rhythmic chew, while Aurora takes noodles and beef for her stew. The atmosphere is heavy, a thick, stagnant fog, as the holiday feels like a deep, sinking bog. They finish their dinner in silence and gloom, in the cramped, narrow space of their substandard room. The bedtime routine is a quiet affair, as the scent of the curry still hangs in the air. Aurora and Arthur put on their night clothes, as the weight of their actions and bitterness grows. They brush their small teeth with a mechanical pace, while a look of regret crosses each tired face. Aurora is silent, her pink glasses off, while the silence is broken by Arthur's soft cough. The day is finally coming to an end, with many a fence that they'll need to go mend. Petar kneels down by the side of the bed, with a heavy-set heart and a weary-bowed head. He whispers a prayer in his native tongue's sound, while the shadows of Folkestone gather around. "Bože, moljete pazini, Bože, moljete pazini," he sighs as he closes his tired and blue-glassed eyes. He prays for his children, his wife, and his life to find a way out of this holiday strife. The words are a comfort, a soft, holy song to help him stay steady and help him stay strong. Maria sits down by Aurora's new bed as the girl starts to cry and to hang her tired head. The talkative teen is finally still, her spirit exhausted by her own stubborn will. Maria pulls her close despite all the fire, despite all the vents of Aurora's dark ire. "Your vandalism, Aurora, has cost us so dear," she whispers softly into her daughter's ear. She comforts the girl with a mother's soft touch as the moonlight begins to reveal far too much. They drift into sleep as the Tuesday turns late in a hotel of shadows, governed by fate.